Hi, everybody. I'm Molly Cash. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of the ISA. Thank you all for coming tonight to the ISA Pitch Panel and Third Thursdays. We're super excited to have you all here. Thank you so much to our panelists, Scott and Julia and Mitchell and Amy. Thank you for your time and your expertise. We cannot wait to hear everything you have to say, the feedback for these pitches. We're celebrating two things tonight: our Fast Track Fellows, Vandon, Gibbs, and Elena Perez, who are in the midst of their Fast Track Week, and they get to pitch tonight. And also our winners of the Virtual Pitch Challenge, who get to pitch tonight. And all of them, and I'll say their names: Lisa Garvey, Sherilyn Kay, and Tommy Garcia. So we're going to see those 5 pitches, and they all, for pitching tonight, get a copy of Final Draft's new software, Final Draft 12. Thank you, Final Draft. You're an amazing sponsor. We love you dearly. And our other sponsors tonight, we have other fun prizes from Page Turner. They are giving away 10 entries. You can choose from either their faith-based competition or their drama competition. And Cinequest is giving everybody on this call $10 off an entry, and Capital Fund Screenplay Competition is giving away 3 free entries, as well as everybody on this call is getting 15% off an entry, a script entry. Did I get all the sponsors? I believe so. Thank you to our sponsors. The way you win those prizes is by going on Twitter and telling us your favorite piece of advice tonight, something that resonated with you, something that you learned, anything you want to talk about, and tag at Network ISA. That's how we will know that you did it. And then we're going to pick at random for the prizes.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. We are so excited to welcome these 4 panelists who are going to give feedback on these live pitches. Like Molly mentioned, we're going to listen to 5 pitchers, 2 which are Fast Track Fellows. And then our panelists are going to talk about what they liked, what could be improved, give general feedback. We'll have a little bit less than 10 minutes, for each one afterwards. We'll try to cut that down so we can get everybody out of here, the panelists out at 6. And then after that, we're going to bring up all the pitchers for a discussion. And they're going to talk about how it went, what they think they would change, all of that stuff. So stick around after the pitches are done, because we are going to have a discussion. It's going to be great. So I'd like to introduce our panelists. First up, we have Scott Hale, who is the president of Gramercy Park Entertainment. Thank you, Scott, for being here. And also from Gramercy Park Entertainment, we have Mitchell. Is it Bendersky? Did I say that right?
Bendersky.
Bendersky. And thank you, Mitchell, for being here also. We have Julia Friley, who is a creative executive at Walden Media. Thanks, Julia, for being here. And last but not least, we have Amy Sullivan, who is a writer's assistant on The Boys. And she's also a fellow screenwriter, so she will have some insight on that side of things. So we are going to go ahead and get started with our very first pitch. First up is a Fast Track Fellow, Vandon Gibbs.
Okay, so question: are there racist people in America? Answer: yes. Are any of those people avid college football fans? Absolutely. And if you've ever watched college football, you would know that the majority of the players are Black. So that means you have racist people openly cheering for people at a game that they don't like. Right? And what if these players, these people, these Black athletes felt enough's enough and they actually boycotted a major college conference in favor of a historically Black university and college? What would that do to the country? And that's the divided states of America. It's a look at systemic racism through the lens of college football. Think of it as The Wire, but as The Wire dissected drug dealers versus cops, divided states dissects Black versus white. And in the middle, we have our protagonist, a biracial football player who all he wants to do is play football. He doesn't care what's going on around him. He has a Black father, a white mother, but he's being pulled in the middle of this tug of war, being forced to choose a side in this race war. And for anyone that would think, this is something that could probably never happen, it already has. All schools, major schools, didn't integrate until the late 1970s in college football. So at one point in time, Black players were not allowed to play for quote unquote white colleges. And because of that, this story is timeless, it's timely, and as long as there is systemic racism, it's relevant. That's it.
Thanks, Vandon. Okay, so who wants to go first? Amy.
Hi, great job. Fantastic pitch. I think since you are basing the opening off of real things that happen in our nation, I would open with maybe some statistics of the amount of people, or any statistics that you can, and then how that correlates to the number of football fans. I think that would really hit home to just show the wide amount of people who fall into this group that you open with, because I think any specificity you can get on that group of people would really help. I also would love to hear some of the shows that are a comp for the tone, what kind of tone you're going for, any of the comparable shows that we can start to picture as you talk about your pitch.
Thanks, Amy. Scott?
I was just gonna, this is a question to the extent you have any personal experience as a collegiate athlete, or you have collegiate athletes that, run in the family, I think you should, kind of state that, as I think that's an important lens.
And Vandon, you can answer if you want. I mean, if
I did not play college football. I wasn't good enough. I did play high school though, so.
Nice.
Shout
Mitchell,
out North Clayton.
Mitchell, what are your thoughts?
I thought it was strong. It was energetic. The personality was clearly shown. And I think it's important to establish the premise and the backstory, which you did very, very well. I would love to know a little bit more about not just the characters in the story, because we only learned about one, but where you see the story going, and kind of going more in depth into the future of the story, as well as the premise.
I thought I only had 90 seconds. Did I have longer than that?
Nope, it's a short one. It's a short one. These are all good things to think about. Maybe there's a little nugget you can throw in there about, just a 5-second or about this is where it's going or how it's going to change or evolve.
I didn't want somebody to ring the gong on me to say I was going over my time. So.
Well, thank you for staying within the time limits. That is much appreciated. Julia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I know it's definitely a short time, but I think you can give us a little bit more of what he faces. It'd be like, his girlfriend wants him to do this, or like he's gonna have to go against his parents, or he's gonna have to choose, or just like taste more of what we're gonna get. You don't have to tell us how he's gonna overcome the obstacles, but maybe just listing the obstacles out. And I think really hitting into the emotional aspect of that as well for him, and what he has to overcome with himself throughout the series. So yeah, awesome. I mean, I'd watch it.
Thank you.
Excellent. Well, Vandon, we're going to get more into the nitty gritty after these pitches are done. So hold tight and we're going to bring you back up in a little bit. Next up, we have Lisa Garvey. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, everyone.
So go ahead whenever you are ready.
All right, excellent. Well, my name is Lisa Garvey. My project is a feature called The Gradual Deterioration of Walter Twigg. It's a sci-fi fantasy romance, definitely kind of weird, very whimsical. The Lobster meets Palm Springs meets Eternal Sunshine in terms of two people in a relationship falling down a rabbit hole, which is what I write about, characters falling down rabbit holes, trying to figure out their place in the world. I grew up having to constantly adapt to new surroundings, so I struggled with my identity and where I fit in, and this story is very much about that. So Walter, poor Walter, his struggle with his sense of self is related to mental illness, specifically depression. He plays the cello and is a musical genius, but he's suffering under the weight of that genius because he's profoundly lonely until he meets Shaboan, who he falls in love with, and that sort of alleviates his loneliness problem, but not his mental health issues because his mirror image is messing with him, even walking away on occasion, and this is causing him to question his existence. Then his mirror image pulls Shaboan to the other side of the mirror, and through his loneliness and depression, Walter must save her before he loses her to his reflection forever. While it's a story about love, self, mental illness, and deciphering what's real versus imagined, it's really about how the mind is affected by and responds to loneliness, and how being lonely can make you feel like you don't exist, which I think is a really universal feeling always, but especially given the isolation we've been through this past year. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. Does anyone want to jump in first? Amy,
Sure.
Ready to jump?
Sure. Yeah, Lisa, fantastic. It sounds so interesting. I love that you put up the comps right away. You set up, the tone, the scene, everything. It's a lot of information, which I think is great in 90 seconds. But I think because you answer the questions that you never posed in the beginning, I think it would help maybe at the opening of the pitch to ask the questions to who you're talking to. What does it mean to be lonely in this day and age? What does that look like? What is the strain on the relationship? And then answer them at the end of the pitch, because that will really dovetail your pitch very nicely. But great job.
Thank you. That was very helpful. Thank you.
Who wants to go next? Julia?
Yeah, I can go. Great comps. I think a really helpful thing with comps is that you then don't have to describe the sort of some other aspects of it, because we get it immediately. So I think you can save some real estate, because your comps are so good and engaging up top, that you can save some of the real estate and take a little bit more time, not less information, but kind of more of the storytelling of it. So like weave us into it a little bit more about like he falls in love and then all of a sudden, just like paint us the picture a little bit more. And I think you can, again, it's tight, but you can take the comps are so good, you can save some of the end of it. I also really love that you addressed the why now, with COVID and stuff. I think that's always really important, and you nailed that. So yeah, good job.
Thank you.
Great. Scott?
I mean, I also confirm what Joe was saying. I really think you gave us a sense of tone, and certainly, referencing kind of like the lobster, like you definitely kind of get a sense of like that Yorgos sensibility. Look, I just would take an opportunity to kind of, illustrate the world a little bit more, because I think that's what's going to separate this idea.
Okay.
And Mitchell?
Yeah, I hope it's not a cop-out. I agree with everyone. And I specifically agree with what Amy said about kind of posing those questions a little bit in the beginning. And if that means taking out a sentence or two or three from the story, I think that's okay, because it is a lot of information. And so perhaps condensing that to give you more time to pose the questions, and maybe through that establishing a little bit of the world might help flesh out the setting of your story.
Excellent.
Good. All right. Thank you, Lisa. And we're going to talk to you afterwards, after the pitches are done, and we'll kind of get into where your head is. Okay. So next up, we have another Fast Track Fellow, Elena Perez. Here she comes. Hi, Elena.
Everybody.
Hi.
Hi, how's it going?
We are good. Go whenever you are ready.
All right, cool. Well, my name's Elena, and well, I moved to LA recently from New York City, where I worked in technology and media startups. And that experience got me thinking, I was involved in innovation all the time, working and thinking about it, writing about it. And, one of the things that it's really inspired me to think about is our responsibility to innovation. It's something that becomes really important when you think about the next big wave of change, especially like biotech, things like cloning and gene editing, and the technology that my 1-hour sci-fi series is based on, artificial wombs. So Ecto Girls is about a group of teenage girls raised in isolation as part of a reproductive experiment. When the project is mysteriously abandoned and they're left for dead, one determined girl ventures out to find their maker and save their lives. So the series is set in a near future dystopia with a tone similar to The Wilds. It also explores kind of the identity issues of Westworld, although the girls are not robots. It centers on Jimena, Mina. She's 15 and she's raised with 5 other girls in a remote compound, with the understanding that they'll all join the real world when they prove that they can survive. They're put through a vigorous training program to prepare for the outside. They live in great anticipation of these exits, when their life really begins. Mina, she's kind of rough around the edges, but she's super loyal. And she believes everything that their creator, Dr. Graciel Rana, has told them. Most importantly, that when they leave, they're going to be welcomed as heroes of a reproduction revolution. The world is awaiting them. So when they're cut off from headquarters, Mina can't believe they'd be abandoned. It just doesn't make sense. They're way too important, right? So she, along with one of, an unlikely companion, really the most cynical girl in the bunch, they head out to find their creator. Mina wants to save their lives, but she also needs to prove that everything she's been told about their identity is true. So season 1, we follow Mina as she navigates like an unfamiliar world. It's kind of harrowing, but and she's going to unravel the story of the truth about the girl's origins. So through her journey and through the experiment, we're going to explore questions like, who defines your identity? And are we ready for the future we're creating? Thank you.
Excellent, Elena. Who wants to go first in here? Who wants to jump in? Julia? Mitchell?
I can go, sure.
Okay.
I loved your log lines and kind of like the brief introductory way that you kind of brought out the world and the characters. I love that you explained that you not only gave comps, but you explained specifically how those comps relate to what you're making, and give us a more detailed vision of what it would actually look and feel like. I think navigating season 1 isn't particularly necessary.
Okay.
Especially in these shorter pitches, because usually you'd want to give like multiple seasons after that. So I think just going through the show as a whole should be the priority and not needing to split it up about the first 5 to 10 episodes or what have you.
Super, thank you. Great.
Yeah.
Amy?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought that it sounded like a professional pitch, in my humble opinion, as a writer's assistant, keep in mind. But, I've heard lots of pitches, and this was fantastic. I would love to know, I've been taking notes, but I don't believe you mentioned an antagonist, what they're facing, who they're up against. Or did you, and I missed it?
I not explicitly, no. Yeah, so that makes sense.
I think that would help. Yeah, I think that would help just to know what they're up against, because in my mind, they would be lauded as, scientific breakthroughs. And, is that not the case? Is that not the reality for them? Are they going to be facing, people who are against this kind of science because it goes against their religion? I think there's a lot of obstacles that we could touch on that relate to our modern world right now. But fantastic. It was awesome.
Great. Thanks for the suggestion. Yeah.
Scott, what about you?
I mean, I don't really have any other comments that weren't kind of illustrated. But I mean, I will say, I really think, a lot of sci-fi kind of gets lost in kind of an absence of a theme. And I really thought you captured this theme of identity really well. And I really feel like I was able to kind of conceptualize the world and the kind of what the ideas of visualizing the creator and all that. I think really applaud you for that.
Thank you.
I agree. Julia?
Yeah, I agree with everyone. I think just to go off a little bit more of what Mitchell said, I think sometimes you want to hook people in, just with the hook of the pilot almost, sort of with this kind of situation. You want to be and then they discovered this, or again, it's just kind of storytelling. You want people to ask more questions and be oh, that's an addicting premise. So I think it's just about shaping it a little bit, but you have all the pieces there. I think it's just about wooing us in, sort of.
Super. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Excellent. Thank you, Elena. That was amazing. Okay, next up, we have 2 more to get to. How do you say your name?
Sherilyn, like Maryland.
Sherilyn. Okay, great. Whenever you are ready.
Whenever I'm ready. Hey, how y'all doing? This is Sherilyn Kyle coming to you straight from my city, that gritty city, Camden, New Jersey. On Sundays, this is what we do, hoop all day long in the 35 and up Community Basketball League. Yeah, let me tell you a little bit about our players. First off, we got that white boy with that long range Steph 3-point shot. Yeah, he there doing what he do. Then we got that old man drunk who can still get his dunk on. He plays right next to that hot-headed youngin who serves it up and dishes it out to who? but none other than that trash talking, low down, dirty, dealing and stealing, drug dealing. You know he there, always. These players and more play in my urban dramedy, The Madness in March. It's an ensemble story told through the eyes of my 12-year-old who is dealing with the fact that his father is openly gay and very athletic and very active. He doesn't mind defending his father on and off the court, even against his homophobic mother, who stays bitter and bashing while his father is better and smashing. Well, both of them send him a crashing to what? But to a basketball lives matter meltdown. He can't find out where he's supposed to be. So where does he retreat to? What he knows. And that's the basketball court. Now, I know you're probably thinking this is nothing but African Americans that want to be NBA league. It's more than that. It's community, it's family, it's basketball. And everybody can play it, especially in my story, The Madness in March. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, who wants to jump in here first?
I will.
Okay.
I think you have a really interesting kind of conflict with a kind of like a strong point of view, and I would kind of try to put that up top. Like I think your dramatic like performance here like really like hooked us and was really inventive and really encapsulated the characters. But I think that trying to put that up top might help hook us a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
Mitchell?
I don't have any notes. I love that. That was so energetic. I love the way you use props. You used your character introductions in a narrative format. The way that they pass the ball, the way that they're all on the court. I thought that was so genius. I love the title, Madness of March. But you also made it about community in the end. So you also approached the theme, I think, in a really strong way. But I agree with Scott about his note. But yeah, I loved it.
Thank you.
Excellent. Amy?
Yeah, so much personality. I mean, it just like absolutely jumps off the screen. And I'm sure it's even more engaging in person. But I would pose the same thing that I said earlier, that I love when pitches ask a question and then answer it at the end. And as entertaining as it is, for a minute I was like, okay, but what's the show about, or what are we going to be watching? And I would love to hear in this pitch what season 1 would be encapsulating and why this is a dramedy, because it reads as a comedy, how engaging you are, but I'd love to hear the obstacles and what they're up against and what's going on in the community and what's going on in the city, and how that affects their basketball community.
Thanks.
Excellent. Julia?
Yeah, I loved the introduction of the multiple characters. Like, again, very short amount of time, and you introduced us to so many people, and you also, by introducing them, set up what their issues with each other are going to be as well, which was really well done in such a short time. I think that was really great. I think you really set the tone for the location as well, which was great. I think, it sounds like the town's a character really, which is some of my favorite stuff when it's kind of an extra component, especially with the community and stuff. I think maybe just a couple comps in there just to like zoom in a little bit more on the tone, and like, there's a lot of half hours out there, is it more Modern Families, other things that it can be all over. So I think just to set that a little bit up. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Uno, dos, tres. Okay. Hi, I'm Tommy Garcia. I am pitching an animated comedy series pilot titled Mergaze. It's an animated comedy series for adults aimed at LGBTQ plus viewers, but with a crossover appeal to broader audiences of Comedy Central, Adult Swim type fare. It follows two 18-year-old buddies from Orange County, California, Skylar and Marcos, who come out to their wealthy but controlling families who are not okay with the gay. So naturally, Skylar and Marcos steal a yacht to start a new life at sea. It becomes immediately clear they have no idea what they're doing. But luckily, Skylar's Grindr app intercepts a nearby Flipper account, and we are introduced to our first mergay named Seth. Now, Seth has illegally obtained some dolphin air, which is used on sea mammals when they undergo surgery. And when the boat sinks, he doses Skylar and Marcos willingly, and they hitch a ride in a whale shark's mouth to meet Seth's mergay friends. But the dolphin air runs low, and in order to save Skylar and Marcos from a horrible death, they all go to visit a gay sea witch who cooks up a more lasting solution for them to breathe. And then his husband, the drag superstar of the Pacific, designs them custom merman tails. And we end our pilot with our introduction to Skylar and Marcos in their new form, the Merfakes, ready to start a whole series of adventures with their new friends, the mergays. And there's one right there.
Excellent, Tommy. That was a great way to end these pitches. Who wants to go first? Amy does.
Fantastic. I love it. I'd like to watch that today. I would love some character descriptors for Skylar and Marcus and why they're different, why they're friends, besides the fact that they came at this life crossroads at the same time. I'd love to see what kind of conflict they're going to have. Do they agree all the time? Do they not agree all the time? I think that would really help us get a good understanding of them. But great job.
Thank you.
And Julia.
Yeah, I think it was so much fun. I think it's such a great premise. I think you can stop at the point where they are rescued with the air and be like, and I don't think we need the mechanics of how they become the mergays. And I think you could stop earlier and then save that time to discuss the fun they get up to in the rest of the season. You know, they'll go after buried treasure, they'll do this, they'll do, you know, I think you can stop at that point and we don't need to know how it happens. You can just say, and they become this, and then give us more examples of the fun they'll have. I think a couple comps would be good, especially with animation, because it can go all over the map with animation. But I think it, you know, really the tone will be nailed by that. But I think it's a really fun idea, and I'd also watch this.
Scott.
I don't really have anything. I thought this was so inventive and original, and it really transported me to like an interesting kind of world. And I think it's certainly like a unique narrative to kind of approach, you know, kind of a buddy comedy. And so thank you for indulging us.
Thank you.
And Mitchell.
I loved it. I guess I'm just a sucker for props because I also really enjoyed how he used that in the end. I do agree with what Julia was saying, how maybe condensing a little bit of the plot and describing a few more of the episodes, because I think especially with an animated series, you know, these executives are going to want to know, can this go on for 50, 100, 200 episodes? Can this be a new Simpsons or Family Guy or Big Mouth? So just coming up with like 3 or 4 wild, insane adventures that they'll get up to kind of showcase how many more you've got at your disposal.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a couple minutes. These went pretty fast through. So thank you guys for your wonderful comments. I do want to ask you guys, since we have, I'm going to, you know, it's like 10 minutes or so, and then I'll get you out of here. For Scott and Mitchell, when you guys are working with your clients on pitches, what do you tell them is, like, when you're working on those, what's the most important aspect or part of a pitch to you guys when working those with your clients?
I think it's about having a personal connection to the story, and kind of just having an investment and just really being able to kind of, you know, just buy into the characters and kind of feeling like they're jump off the page and they're multidimensional.
Mm-hmm. And Mitchell?
I think something Scott and I really value in any client that we work with, and something that we try and get as much as possible out of them is voice, is personality, regardless whether it's, you know, a comedy or a biopic or something. Regardless of what the subject material is, really knowing by the time that you finish this pitch or the script or outline, whatever, you know exactly who the person behind it is and why they specifically are the perfect person to be telling this story.
Excellent. And Mitchell, since you're talking and you're not muted, you mentioned that you love props. When is a prop when does a prop go too far? Is there a fine line between props? Is there too much props? Or are you just a lover of like anything visual that helps with the presentation?
I think the prop just kind of depends on how good the pitch is. So a prop can never save a pitch, but if it's great and there's an energy to it and it's called for, I think it highlights the inventiveness of the person behind them, especially when they're in this little box on a computer. How can that little box be as innovative as possible in 90 seconds? So.
Yes, exactly. Julia, for you, are you hearing pitches? How has it been for you in the world of Zoom, and what's different in regards to, and this can be for anyone actually, how is it different in regards to hearing pitches live versus on Zoom?
We've definitely been hearing a bunch of pitches. With COVID, we've really sort of upped our development because we had time to. So it's been great. Pitches on Zoom took a second to get used to. There is sort of a energy in the room. I think it's really almost an advantage though for writers. I mean, you can have your notes up there. You're not fiddling with cards. You can be reading. I don't care if you're reading. The visuals have been great a lot of times that we've been getting. That always is nice to kind of keep people engaged. I find pitches are, even just the logistics of like, you don't have to drive across town and gather 6 people. It feels like they can happen a lot faster. And we've bought pitches this year, we've bought a couple, and I think it's really about keying into the why now of something and making sure there's a space in the marketplace for it, and also filling, going to people who you think will like it, and trying to know your audience. If I'm Canadian, if it's a Canadian writer or that takes place in Canada, you have my undivided attention, things like that. So and also looking at what they are making and making sure they don't have something super similar to it already, because everyone wants to spend their time with different projects, and it's such an easy no to be like, oh, well, we've already got this. So you want to make sure that you're bringing something new to the table.
Excellent, thank you. And Amy, since you are both in the development and production side of things, and you're also a screenwriter, how do you think for you, you like tuned in really well to these pitches and kind of like at the beginning what you wanted to hear and what you wanted to feel or picture, if you will. So for you, like, what's the most important aspect of a pitch in terms of like, for someone who's listening to get it in their brain and understand, okay, here's what it is, so then I can really understand your story?
Just what's the most important part?
Yeah, like how does somebody pull you in at the beginning?
A personal touch, I would say. I would say as a writer, that's the only times I've had success so far. Just making a very personal connection to the script. Otherwise, why are you writing it? Why wouldn't they get somebody else? And I think making that very clear from the get-go, what your connection to this story and to why you're telling it now is probably, in my mind, the most important thing that you will say during that pitch. Obviously, the plot and the characters and the themes are also important, but I love when, and I can only speak for the people I've worked for, who are the people making the decisions in the room. And even when they meet with writers to come be staffed on The Boys or anything, they want to know why you want to work for The Boys, why you want to work for This Is Us, why you want to work for any of these shows, and what you see in yourself on these shows. That's really the biggest part, I think.
Great, thank you. And Scott, I wanted to come to you because I wanted to ask you and Mitchell this question. When you guys are meeting writers and doing meetings with them, deciding if you're going to rep somebody, what do you, besides voice, I guess, what do you look for, and what does somebody do they need to come to you with 5 ideas? Do they need to have 30? Do they need to have how many finished scripts? Like when you're taking someone on, what are you looking for?
Mitchell, you want to jump in?
Sure. I know the industry loves comps. When I have trouble figuring out a comp for a writer and I can't compare them to anyone, and they have that unique risk-taking, bold quality, writer or director, filmmaker in general, that is when I get very enticed. When I'm like, I don't know what box to put you in. You seem like someone who's kind of paving their own path. That to me comes off as very interesting.
Amazing answer. I love that. Scott, do you want to add to that, or?
I mean, I think we also look for, for a certain kind of hunger, and that can be showcased through, of a catalog of ideas, or, just a portfolio of finished, screen material. And we also look for people who really like have a sense of like who they are relative to the arts, because I think people come out, I found in my time, so many people kind of come out to LA, and most people that are writers, are transplants. And they come to LA, and I think, especially if they come up and they kind of apprentice and work for the business, they kind of get lost in writing for the business and not for themselves. And, they try to think, well, like this show's successful, how can I create my tweak of that? Rather than kind of just, really thinking within just an original kind of lens. And so I just think that, the originality will always prevail.
Amazing. I love that. I'm glad I asked that of you guys. Okay, so last question, and everyone can answer. What are some final tips or tricks or words of advice, or a great pitch that you heard that you remembered, or something like that, that you can share with our amazing viewers here today?
In this time where we're all still socially distant for at least, some foreseeable future, I've been following a lot of writers on Twitter and engaging with them, and then just starting a dialogue there. I think people are craving social interaction. And if you want to learn from great writers, if for some of you who are not working in the industry yet or aspire to be, engaging with them on Twitter and just asking, like, if you ever need like coverage done, or if you ever need like, if you ever need any research done, like I'd love to connect with you or something. I've definitely connected with like some big screenwriters just by engaging with them on Twitter and saying that I'm a fan and that I want to learn from them. I think that is the biggest thing that these people can give back at this time. And I think they're hungry too. So that would be my advice.
All right. Julia, what about you?
I feel like I have so many random little tidbits. I think there's, this is a collaborative industry. So I love it when someone comes in with a strong take, but it's really the discussion afterwards that often makes or breaks it for me. I think I often will have a lot of questions. I want to make sure you've thought it through I love when people have answers, and I love being wrong. I love when someone has a really good reason and backing something up. But I also love when, I'm trying to make something work for us, and there's ideas for how it could work for us, where I come from Walden, we're getting darker with some of the stuff we do, but I had some writers come pitch us, and a character died at the end of something, and I was like, oh, I would just love it if we could make it like a little more inspirational, and like, maybe the character could live. And they were like, yeah, that actually works with our theme. Like, they were really open to how it still worked creatively for them, but also how it could work creatively for us. So, and then I just know we're going to work well together off that as well. So yeah, I think being open, knowing that like this is your baby, but it is a collaborative industry as well.
That's some good advice. Mitchell?
I would say meet everyone that you can, regardless of whether they're writers, directors, actors, execs, whoever, anyone involved somehow tangentially to this industry can have some perspective that helps you. Keep a good circle around you. keep a good team around you, like good managers, and just be nice, be good. Try and leave this industry better than when you entered it.
Oh, I love that. You're my people, Mitchell. I like it. Scott, what about you? You're the final one up, and then we're gonna let you guys go.
Oh gosh, you're closing on me. Wow.
I know, it better be good. Come on, bring it home.
I would just like, I mean, along the lines of like what Mitchell's like saying, like, and kind of like to what Amy's saying, it's like, I think you got to try to be strategic in networking and thinking like, what's your end goal? And like, knowing that may not get to the source that you need to tomorrow, but how can you organically build relationships that get you to those people? Because, you know, especially in the TV business, I think when you're in a normal working, you know, in-person room with people, like they want to be surrounded by people that like can vouch for them. And so the more writers and the more people you have in the community that can vouch for you, especially in your first couple jobs, like it goes a long way.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, thank all of you guys for joining us. Everyone who's here, stick around because we're just going to switch panel and we're going to bring up all of the pictures and we're going to talk to them. But thank you, Scott. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Mitchell. Thank you, Julia. You guys were fantastic. I appreciate your participation. Let's give a virtual round of applause for all of our pictures in the chat. Everyone give a clap. Yay! You guys did so amazing. I know that it's nerve-wracking to just pop up on screen and be like, hello, here I go. So I want to hear from each of you, just now that it's done and you're kind of coming down from it, how did that go for you? How do you think you did that time versus like maybe the first time you started working on it? How are you all feeling right now? Who wants to go first? Lisa, you go. You're unmuted, so you go.
Well, honestly, I did this just because I have a hard time controlling my nerves.
Mhm.
So it was an opportunity to put that to the test, because I can practice by myself all day long and it's fine. But until you have to do it in front of people, then it becomes different. And telling yourself it doesn't mean anything, but still when these eyes are watching you, it means something. So for me, that I got through it and I didn't stumble too much was like a victory.
Awesome. I love that. You know what? I think that's such an important aspect is putting yourself out there and being brave, because we can all sit at home and practice it 1,000 times by ourselves and it can be really good, but it all changes the moment that you get in front of somebody else. So kudos to you for putting yourself out there. It's amazing. Elena, what about you?
Yeah, it was fun. I think it's putting a pitch together, especially something that brief, really challenges you to think about your story in a different way. And I think one of the things that, whether it's this pilot or other pilots, like just trying to tell the story in such a compact way helps you identify some weaknesses and, polish them, or at least find the gaps in how you're thinking about it. So it was great to be able to present it to folks and share it with everybody.
Your project sounds really cool. So
thank you.
Good luck to you. Sherilyn, how about you? Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I am. Well, for me, I'm a teacher. So visuals and all that, this is me. I would prefer to be in the room and in the space so I can get the energy of the people. Like I'm not into the whole computer thing.
For sure.
That's been very difficult. But the one thing for me that I wish I would have said was that it's a feature. A whole nother direction. I was like, okay, if y'all wanted to be a TV show, okay, I'm not going to interrupt you. It's a feature. And all this time I've been practicing it. And it never even occurred to me that I didn't put it in there, that it's a feature. So thank God for the props, but
I love that honesty. I love that. I mean, I think that that's another aspect of when you put yourself out there and you do it in front of somebody else, those things come up. Well, oh, duh. I didn't say it was a feature.
Never said it.
Yeah.
Never said it.
Vandon, how about you? Should I call you Van or Vandon?
Van is fine. It's fine.
Van, okay.
Yeah. I thought it was fine. I try to break it down like a movie, like 3 acts. Like and have each act be 30 seconds because I was trying to stick to that like 90-second you
Yeah.
know, like 30, like this is what it is, this is who it is, and this is the why kind of thing, you know, to just to kind of have like to keep me on pace structure wise, so I'm just not like rambling kind of thing.
Right.
You know, with something like this, you know, I'm kind of with Sherilyn, like I talk to people for a living, so I'm better being in the room so you can read them more and there's
Sure.
more interaction as opposed to people taking notes, you know, like I'm talking and they're jotting, what are they writing kind of thing, you
Right.
know. But yeah, I got through it. It was fun.
All right, good. Tommy, what about you?
Yeah, it was great. It's sort of like a catch-22 because, you know, you narrow it down to the 90 seconds for the pitch you submitted, then you get selected and you're like, oh, well, I could change this and change that, but you don't want to change anything that got you through in the first place. So I was sort of like, well, I guess I won't change anything. And, you know, all the things they said, like, totally, like, you know, I know what the comps are, I know what the future episodes, like what happens and all that stuff, but like, again, 90 seconds, like, you don't want to, you know, alter the formula. So yeah, I guess I don't know what I would have done differently. I guess it's just kind of one of those things, you just keep doing it and you get better over time. So yeah, that's all I got for the moment.
What did you guys like? And like when you were watching somebody else pitch, did any of you guys go, oh, that's a good idea, I'm gonna think about that aspect of mine and kind of like tweak mine? Or another pitch, just pitching in general, like did you guys recognize something great from one of each other and kind of go, oh wow, yeah, that's something that I can incorporate?
I like the way Elena started. You know, it
Mhm.
felt very conversational, like something important. This is the pitch. Listen, like, you know, kind of thing. I like just like easing into it. I like that. I thought that was cool.
It's funny that you say that, Van, because I listened. Your opening was so strong and just sort of pulled everyone in, and it was, you know, I think it's just interesting to see different techniques, because I thought like as soon as you started talking, it was like, whoa, let's pay attention. So it's fun to see different things working, you know.
I think that's a tone thing though, isn't it? Sorry to interrupt if I just spoke over anybody. Because I feel like that is almost like a tone thing. Yours was kind of like this, I'm going to lead, like Elaine is kind of like leading you in somewhere, and then Van's like a very, I mean, I know both their projects, these are our fast track fellows, so, and then Van's is very kind of explosive, and this is how it is, and we need to kind of grab this by the horns. And then with Tommy's being, you know, a comedy, then having that tone of the lightness and the fluffiness, and then just being the silly quality of that. And I think that Sherilyn bringing your personality of like, you're on the court and we could see all the different people, it just shows. And then even with Lisa explaining who this guy is and the reflections and this kind of the multiverse of the world, getting the tone right for how you pitch it, and kind of even the language you use, and the probably even the clothes you wear makes such a big difference. I mean, I can see like Michelle has got that top feels sporty, you know, it just all that kind of stuff you want to be. When I was an actor back 100 million years ago, I remember I was auditioning for a doctor once, and I had a white Mac, and guess what I wore to the audition? You know, I mean, it's like, it's I think really setting yourself up as the storyteller of this story. We were having meetings today, and I think with Najib from Endless Media, and he was saying you have to make it so that you are the only person that they can imagine telling this story. And even in the pitch, you have to be that person. So they're kind of like, oh my God, this is coming from this person's brain. We couldn't give it to anyone else. They have to be involved in the writing of it because it's so true to who they are. And this is why they need to tell that story.
I like that everybody had comps, and that's something that I struggle with, because not thinking that I'm like so all that and I'm so individual, but I struggle because it's easy to say, well, this is like an athletic soul food from the 90s and blah, 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 but it also has this and it also has that. And I think you keep going on and on and on. It's like, okay, what is it really like? Like, what am I watching? So for me, I struggle with comps, and the fact that everybody had comps, I was like, oh, snap, okay. So I really just have to kind of focus on, what does the story embody? What is it like, but not so much like that I try to mimic and be that story.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. I hate comps because I agree with the one gentleman, whatever his name. He said I like people who are, very unique. They tell their own stories, and that's what I do. Like, I have a lot of influences, but they come from me. So you kind of have to. It's one of those necessary evils, I guess. Like just pick one or two that people like, even if you're kind of rolling your eyes, like, just pick something. That's why, because I know a lot of you had specific comps, and it was one of those things, like, I thought, should I change it? But I was like, no, it's too late. I'm not going to try to change it and then be like, blah, 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 when it's my turn. So, but I was just like, you know what? I said Comedy Central, Adult Swim, like, fill in the blanks. And especially because it's so many disparate sources, like it's Queer as Folk, it's Looking, it's South Park, it's 90s Simpsons, it's like all these things. So yeah, I would say maybe put everything, like I just got this Prompt Smart app. So it's like a teleprompter. I didn't even look at it, but it just put me at ease knowing it was there. Like if I had to, I can look up and it follows your voice. So it's where you're at. So I probably, if I could do it again, I would have put everything I wanted in there, since I barely looked at it anyways. So, if you do get the chance, like, if you do, maybe they aren't, as strict on time as I thought, or, maybe they will want more of that. Like, I probably would have put more in there, but, it's just one of those things.
What's that app that you're using?
There's a bunch, but this one is Prompt Smart. There's like Prompt Smart Plus. I got Prompt Smart Lite. I don't know. It had more things, but yeah, it's like I didn't even look at it, but it just helps, like, to know it's there, like, in case.
What other cheat sheets did you guys have? Like, what's your cheat sheet of choice? Do you have it up on your screen on the side when you guys are zooming? Is everything in your brain, or do you have kind of like on the side? Sherilyn's like, everything's in my brain.
Everything's in my brain. So I just blame the brain if it don't work. Because, it's like, if you try to, like, you're flitting back. And that's the thing about this whole Zoom thing. Like, I'm looking at the dot, and you don't want to be going like this, because then you look like a crackhead. Like, you want to make sure that you're here and you're organized and just taking your time. And I'm bilingual Spanish. So when I speak English, I have to really concentrate to go very, very slow and make sure I enunciate and I don't slip into my Espanol. I have to, like, do that.
You got a lot going on.
Paper, it's not happening. I'm getting lost.
Right.
I'm getting lost.
I didn't look at anything.
You didn't look at anything?
No.
You got it all up here?
Well, I mean, I just, went over it a few times and timed myself today and just kind of practiced, like, and get it and then forget it kind of thing, and and overdo it so it's stale. But, I feel like if I would have tried to have something up and where am I now? To me, that throws off my rhythm. It can trip me up. And, for me, the trick of public speaking is, like, I know what I'm trying to say and you don't. So like, if I slip up and I could easily course correct, you don't know that I've just messed up. But if I'm stumbling off of a paper, it's more evident to see. So
how do you course correct? What's your strategy?
I know my story.
Okay.
I mean, I could talk about my story for 90 hours, let alone 90 seconds, in season 2 and season 3 and season 4. But it's just about, again, 3 acts: setup, the middle, and the payoff.
Lisa, do you have any cheat sheets, or do you have anything on the side?
Of course, I'm so nervous. I have to, otherwise I will feel like I'm falling off a cliff the entire time. So I definitely need a safety net, and it just, any extra calmness that I can bring myself, I'm going to use. But Sherilyn, I could totally tell you were just like, and it was awesome.
I always have to have something up, even if it's bullet points or something, because sometimes if I get off track, I need to just quickly go, okay, where am I? And I don't have it like all written out, but yeah, I'm with you on that. I just love a little like safety net there. Elena, what about you?
Yeah, I also do. I have a, paper handy for in case it's a safety net. I mean, for me, I tend to embellish a lot when I speak. So when you're doing something for like 90 seconds, my goal is to make sure I'm not going into the 2.5 minutes sort of thing, because I try to keep it contained. So I keep something handy to keep me on track a little bit.
I mean, I had a few little notes written down from when I practiced, but I have them here, but I didn't even look at them.
It's good. And then how do you guys, I mean, we asked Van how he recovers. He just knows his story inside and out. Does anyone else have any tricks on recovering from losing your place or having a complete brain fart or, like getting off track or going on a tangent, having to pull back? And this can be talk about longer pitches also. I mean, this doesn't have to just be in the 90-second pitch, just pitching in general. How do you guys find that you can get back on course if you kind of lose your way?
So I once tried the prompt app. It was at a workshop, so it wasn't super high stakes, but as I was doing my pitch, I hit something and it tripled the time that it went. So I think it goes back to what Van says, is you have to know the story that you're telling, because now not only didn't have the resource that I was planning on, it was also this weird thing moving really quickly in front of me too. So, but because I knew the story, it's just kind of, come back to me and, remember what I'm trying to tell, and I managed fine.
It's okay to be humble too. I think it's okay to just say, oh damn, I lost my place. I think that's okay, and I think it shows a bit of not only your personality, but you don't need your story to be perfect. You just need to be able to convey those parts, and if that's the part that you land on at that moment, just go with it. Because if you try to fix it and make it right and make it perfect, and you guys are going to love this part, then it comes off fake, and nobody wants anybody fake. And I think for those of us, we ain't new to this. We true to this. We trying to do this for real, and get paid and to do it, so that when we mess up, people want to know that they're dealing with somebody that's human. Our characters are not perfect either. The story's not perfect, and that's why you can connect to it. So I'm not perfect either. I'm sorry, I made a mistake, and I really wanted to tell you this, and then just go like that. I think people can appreciate that.
Yeah, agreed. Tommy?
Yeah, I guess you just have to remember it's not like an acting audition. They're not gonna fault you, at least I don't think so. If you falter a little bit, if you believe in your story and it's a solid concept, you can veer off a little bit, So actually that's why I like props, not because I necessarily like to use them, but if I slip up, I can be
grab a prop.
Here's shark person, I don't know, say something funny, or just have maybe little extra tidbits, extra little factoids about the story, about the concept. Maybe you can throw it in there until you get on track. And that's why I have that app. You have it so you can lose it, but it's there just in case. So I just remember why you're there, why you're pitching, why they're listening to you to begin with, and just get back into it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, and they ultimately want you to succeed. They want something great from you so that they can, how many pitches do people hear all the time and they want it for you? They wouldn't have signed up to have a meeting with you. They wouldn't have called you in. They wouldn't be on there if they weren't rooting for you. So that's what you have to remember too. It's not like somebody's just blow it, get ready. So Felicity, do you want to talk a little bit about, shift gears a little bit and talk about this fast track week and talk a little bit about Van and Elena?
Yeah, I will talk a little bit, but I think again, I'm going to let Van and Elena kind of talk to how it's been for them. When the world was different and things were outside, we're getting there. This event used to be live and there used to be cake for the fast track fellows. And I've told them this and they're like, you haven't sent me any cake? I'm like, that was a mistake, actually. I should have sent you some cake so you could at least eaten some cake at this moment. But we always had a party and a celebration and a kind of woohoo, this is amazing. Because that is the thing about being chosen for a fellowship, is that it's us. in the world, telling these two writers in particular, and all writers everywhere, that you have a voice, that you have a place in this industry, and that we believe in you. And what I love about the Fast Track Fellows from the past has always been that sense of belief being chosen has turned a little switch on in them. I mean, again, we can't do anything. Everything is down to you, the writers. You've got all the power. It's your story. And so all we're trying to say is we believe in you. And these two fellows are two people that we believe in amazingly so, with my whole heart, with my passion, would champion them forever. They're both second careerists, which I think is also something to know. They've done other things in their lives, which I just think makes you even more qualified to be a writer. And they've got different backgrounds. Van is also a writer-director, and Elena is a writer and a poet. I mean, like, how magical is that? I mean, it's just wonderful. This week has been meetings, Zoom meetings, having general meetings. I think there's been a real kind of sense of having to pitch their ideas and other projects that they have, and then just themselves as a writer. Any meeting you go into, it's really, are they going to get along with you as long as like your work? As you said, Sherilyn, I mean, like, you being human is exactly what you're looking for. It's just another human sat on the other side looking at another human saying, are we going to play together, or our stories going to mix? Can you make me a lot of money? So I mean, that's really what they're doing. But I think, so you just have to kind of understand that, enjoy the process. And I think they've had a really great time so far. They've got 2 more meetings tomorrow, and 1 more that we've had to push because the producer was so busy with a new show. So that's great. They're seeing people from Berlanti Productions, Echo Lake, CAA, Endless Media, Lawrence Bender Productions. I'm having to look, Big Ideas, and the writer Lamont McGee. So I should have put that there so I could just do that, but I didn't. I put it down there. So it's been a really fun time. They're doing incredibly well. Everyone has asked for more material, or they're given out their email address, and that never happens. So they should feel very proud of themselves. And so it would be really great, actually, just to hear from, maybe Elena, you can start, about what this week has been like for you and what you've learned, and congratulations and well done you.
Thank you so much. Thanks. You've all been incredible and so supportive through this week and leading up to it. So I'm really grateful. It's been a really fun week for me. Just having conversations with people about story is just the most fun thing. And one of the experiences just meeting different kinds of people who have different interests and different roles, and kind of discovering what the sort of magical connection between us and what will make our conversation interesting. I think that being able to adapt to the different meetings, but also show who you are. It's a great challenge, and it's a lot of fun. And I feel like, what have we had so far? 5 meetings. I am very warmed up. So, bring on, like, definitely in a groove and ready to have more meetings. Right.
Amazing.
Yeah. It's been a lot
Van,
of fun.
Sorry, were you going to say some more? Did I just?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say it's been a lot of fun. So yeah.
That's what we like, and made some friends. I think I felt like you've made some friends. And Van, how's it been for you?
It's been great. I've been telling stories, writing and directing for, I want to say, about 15 years now. But I've learned so much. I've learned the bulk of what I know about the industry. I've learned in the last maybe 3 to 4 years, much more than I've learned in the first 11, And then that first 11, it's just kind of me. I'm isolated, like most artists are. You're doing your thing, you're writing, you can't. And then the last 3 or 4 years, I've got to look behind the curtain of Hollywood, and I see how it works now. And it, but before you look behind that curtain, you're believing there's some magic way that it works, and it's like a reality kind of check. And it's like the guy said, one of your panelists, about like meet as many people as you can. Like, I can't emphasize that enough, because when I first started, I had this feeling like I just need to meet this one person that's going to make or break me, and it's never really just one person. What I've learned is, like, you're going to meet people, and a person is you're going to feel like, oh, this is going to be my connect. This is my lottery ticket. I have met him or her. And in reality, you need about 10 of those. You just, You're just going to have to keep going, and you don't know who it's going to come from. And so, don't turn your nose up at, oh, someone's just a PA or he's a this or that. You never know who can be the one that can help you. So be excited for every meeting you have, regardless of who it's with. It doesn't have to be, oh, it's Steven Spielberg, so I'm going to give him it doesn't matter who it is. You give your best because you don't know 6 degrees of separation or how or if that person can help you. So that's the thing that I've learned the last couple of years, and it's done me well. And these meetings have been great. I think these meetings have been great this week. I
wondered if there's, like, both of you, if there's one thing that you think has been the most valuable thing you've learned so far. It's just really nice, just so that if you were someone, giving advice to someone else out there, what have you learned?
I'll let Ms. Perez go first.
All right, thanks. I think I think being able to ask people for help, in a real way, in a natural way is always is a challenge, for me, and I'm sure other people, and that's one of the things that, this week and just in general, I've been thinking about and trying to improve, because it is, people do want to help. They, and it's what's expected. We all know that we need to meet people and connect with other people. And it's asking for that, asking for, it's just something to get used to. Right.
That's true.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on that. I think people do want to help, but the flip side on that is people want to help people who are already helping themselves. So,
right.
You have to do the work. The old saying is, if you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And so by that, that means if you have an idea, if you have something, write it. Don't wait until somebody comes with a paycheck, because you never know what someone's going to ask for. So, and I hear this thing too. This is me ranting a little bit.
Go for it.
About how Hollywood is and how it, it's not based on talent, it's based on luck and who and all this stuff. And some of that is true, but I think you need to split your time equally, because the people that sit around all day and say, well, craft doesn't matter, it's about who and they're just waiting for some big break, you're not working in your craft. So I think if you do make enough connects, you're going to meet someone, yeah, but then eventually you're going to have to give them your script. So, but if you spend all day working on craft, yeah, you're a good writer, you're a good storyteller, but then no one's going to read the work. So you have to put yourself out there. So there needs to be a good mixture of working on your craft and promoting yourself. And it's one of those things, like, if you meet, I'm using Spielberg today for whatever reason, but if you meet Spielberg at Starbucks, yes, that's luck. Holy cow, Steven Spielberg. And he asked for my script. But if you give him the script and he likes the script, that's not luck. That's craft.
Right.
It's craft. So, we got to work on our craft, and you work on your craft until you get lucky. And this has just been a great week. So
I think Steven Spielberg likes coffee bean, though, just so you
Hey, this is being recorded, so if you ever watch this, Stevie.
We should be so lucky, I hope. Felicity, do you have anything else to add about Fast Track, or should I ask my final questions from everyone?
Yeah, I think we should ask our final questions. The only last thing I was going to say is that I really appreciate all the people that come and support these events. So all the people that have listened, all the people that, when you're watching this later, when it goes on YouTube, because this is our community. This is a writers' community. We need each other. The fact that people tuned in to get better at their craft, great point, Van, and to help each other out and to support each other in the comments is everything to me. And I really love it when you've done these questions, if we can all turn our cameras on at the end and wave at each other like we did last time. Just get ready to do that, because it's so nice scrolling through, just waving at each other at the very end. So
I don't think we can do it because it's a webinar this time, but next time we do a meeting, I know.
But honestly, I love this community. I'm so grateful for it, and everyone did such a great job today. So well done, everybody.
So we're going to wrap this up, but I want to ask everybody on this panel currently, especially Lisa and Tommy and Sherilyn, what is your plug to our viewers on here about putting yourself out there and submitting these pitches? And one thing to say is, please do these correctly. Don't send a video trailer Don't do a 5-minute pitch. Try to stay in the parameters and follow the rules, because you will just be disqualified no matter how great your pitch is. So what do you guys say to those people who are kind of on the fence or are going, oh, I don't want to, you know, like we all get nerves. Everyone gets nervous. No one really wants to put themselves on a tier and like mess up or anything like that. So what do you guys say just about this experience in general, putting yourself out there, and what do you want to tell our viewers?
I can go first. I would say just do it in a way that's organic to you. You know, there's so many festivals and panels and just all sorts of stuff. Like you can go broke submitting to everything, but like, you know, just keep an eye out. And if you think, oh, that sounds like a great opportunity, and it makes sense for this story, this project, you know, go for it. You know, just, I wouldn't say, just do it in a way that feels right to you. And just remember that the story comes first. You know, the story, these people are used to dealing with people who are kind of, you know, a little kooky. I can speak for myself personally. So, you know, just remember that, you know, it's movies. It's, I mean, do the work hard, but it should also be fun. So if something doesn't feel fun to you, you have to ask why, and, you know, just know yourself. And I know that sounds cheesy, but, you know, just take every opportunity you can and do it in a way that, you know, you can go to sleep at night saying, you know, whatever happens, I did what was right and I tried my best. So, yeah.
Oh, Tommy, I love that.
Oh, thank you. I was just going to rant.
No, I love it.
Okay, great.
Sherilyn, what about you?
Just to piggyback off of what he's saying is that, you know, tiene que trabajar. You have to work. I'm very old school. You know, I'm not a social media person. I'm not like my brand. No, it's just my script. And it can get better. Even when I think it's the bomb and it's just blowing up all over my page, my final draft is like all over the place. It still needs work. So you're not done when you get to the end. Go back and work on it some more. And just don't get so full of yourself that you think that you don't need to do the work. You always should be writing. And I always say this, I'm not always typing, but I'm always writing because I need to get better. And I just feel like, I just want to thank you all so much for just giving me this opportunity, because you don't know, I was like this. I couldn't even walk in the door. My husband was like, can you come in the door? Because my head was like, woof. I just felt like, wow, finally. And it just feels so good to have this opportunity and to have this community and become a part of the community with your work. So after you've done the work, share your work with the community. You know, you're not an island. You're not an island.
Well, we love you. I love you. I think you're amazing. So thank you for being part of this pitching challenge. Lisa, what about you?
Well, she gave me the perfect jumping off point, because I was an island for a very long time. And you're ready when you're ready, you know, and if you know what your weaknesses are, don't beat yourself up about it. And you just take the steps that you need, just like working on your craft. If your challenge is like talking to people and being an introvert, it's hard for you. You know, it takes practice, and you're not going to be perfect, and it's okay to fail, and you'll keep getting better. And that's how I even got to the point of being able to, you know, be here today. So I just feel like, you know, don't think that you can't do it because the industry requires you to be a certain way. Back to what everybody else was saying, to be authentic. That is what they want from you. And so embrace that in yourself.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that this whole evening about who you are and being an introvert and just taking a chance and putting yourself out there. I love that. I think that a lot of people struggle with that first step. You know, I always think of it as like we think we're looking at a mountain ahead of us, but it's a speed bump. You're literally like, it's a mountain, and it's this tiny little bump that you have to sort of like get over. And once you get over that, then you're kind of like, okay, where's the next thing? I can do it. You just have to keep going forward and forward. So I very much appreciate your honesty and your authenticity. Thank you, Lisa. Elena and Van, I know you guys spoke. Do you have any last words, or Felicity, you want to say anything before we wrap this up?
I think being authentic is, I think there has never been a better time. I think there's more of a call for authenticity in all the industry. And maybe this is our chance to, as maybe we had to go stay home for a year. It's like, who am I? Just to like navel gaze and go like, oh, without everyone else and without having to and shoulds and coulds, you're kind of like, who am I and what do I want and what is my voice? I have to say that the screenplays have got better over this year, because I think people have had time. They've had time to think about themselves, and maybe we all needed a bit of a respite to kind of work out. And now we realize, you know what, you can be whoever you want to be. And actually, the more you are yourself, and I always say this to the writers, don't try and hide anything from me. I see you on the page. So, but we want to see you on the page. Your delicious heart, your kindness, your sweetness, your angst, your joy, your hardship is what makes you human. And that's what gets us, that affects us too. It gives us catharsis as viewers and as readers. And it reminds us that we're all in it together. We're all one. So do it.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody, for being here for our pitch panel and Third Thursdays. We are so appreciative of everybody who joins us, not only as our viewers, but also coming up here and just being brave and doing it. And then you're teaching other people, and it's just wonderful. I had the best night tonight. I think all of you guys are fantastic. I love our expert panelists, execs. I'm just really happy. I feel the community tonight. So thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Good night, everybody.